But I mean, you were a smart-ass kid of about 20, 21 coming in there, weren't you?
I'm still a smart-ass kid at 35. Watch me work.
But I mean, in those early days, trying to... I mean, it turned out right. That was the thing. That's why those records are still as valid today. They're not golden oldies. I mean, your logo was right. Tomorrow's Sound Today. You can never get your ass hauled under the Trade Description Act.
What was that again?
In England, we have a thing called the Trade Description Act. If you advertise something, and you can prove that the advertisement is incorrect or it's false, then you can sue the person. But none of your records, if you put them out today under the Tomorrow's Sound Today, you couldn't be busted on the Trade Description Act. Because they're not golden oldies, they're as valid today as when you first recorded them. And the fact that other people use them as reference points when they're trying to do certain things. I mean, you've heard all the Imitations. I'm damn sure you have.
Are they still making them today?
Well, there's what you call it. You've got people like Roy Wood and Wizard just virtually rewriting your songs and getting hits with them in England. But when you went in the studio in those days, how difficult was it to get those first records cut?
Took a lot of time. I knew what I wanted, and I waited till I got what I wanted. And I worked my ass off until I got what I wanted. And I can play you things that have never come out, that you'll say, God, why didn't you ever release those?
Why didn't you release them? People have told me, Ronnie's told me, Ellie Greenwich has told me. Things like Paradise, things like I Wish I Never Saw the Sunshine. Said it was good, if not better than some of the stuff he did put out.
You're the writer.
Hmm.
What do you think?
I'm not you.
I chose not to. Bad takes, that's all. Like a film editor, like a film director. Just wasn't the right take. Just didn't have what I wanted to say. Everything. And let it be known clearly and loudly. Everything is indicative and representative of what I felt. This house is, and my music is.
You always used to concentrate so much on the A-sides to make sure that that was the thing that the jocks played, the thing that the people heard. They used to put straight instrumental jams on the B-sides, well, most of the records. And would you have preferred to have had one-sided singles?
Yeah, sure. The only reason I put I told Tony Brownwell this, who's sitting right next to you now. I told him the only reason I put,
BB and Susu.
BB and all that jive instrumental stuff is because, to get the writing, the publishing, and just get it out quickly, that's all.
If there's any one record, I mean, you've got...
You're going to ask me a question that I can't answer.
Should I bother asking you then?
Well, you can answer me if there's any one record you really... It's going to start like that, right?
Where it was the tape, where everything was perfect. Is there any particular one when you say that for that particular time in your life, that was the zenith of what you were doing?
I have not begun to reach that point.
I've found personally when listening to your records, especially with River Deep Mountain High.
Did you understand that answer?
Yeah.
Okay. I have not begun to reach that point.
I've heard something.
However, there are people in the public and you who will think, God, he's back at it again, and God damn it, that is the zenith. That is the point. To me, no. I'll be creating until I die.
I've found with listening to some of your records, especially like Walking in the Rain, Be My Baby, and especially River Deep Mountain High, every time I play them I find something else in them that I didn't hear the first time.
There's a reason for that. Do you know what the reason is?
Mix?
Your answer.
So keep on replaying them.
And you always find something different. Yeah. And you always will.
A lot of artists say that once they've made something they never like to listen to it again. They want to go ahead. Do you sometimes sit in that room and play the old records again? And can you get off on them?
Only for friends and acquaintances.
No for yourself?
No. They love them. Well, here's David. Here's Danny. Ask them. Don't ask me. Here's Caroline. Ask her. They get off. They love it.
Yes, they always just want a cigarette.
Made with honesty. Made with intellectualism. Me, no. I don't get off anymore. I did them and that was it.
Yeah, but they're you, aren't they?
No. You said it better than I did. Don't you remember what you said about my books?
The history.
That's right. They're my history. Do I love them? Sure. Would I trade them? No. Do I respect them? Yes. See, that's the big thing in love. Men and women don't understand that. Respect. When all the record producers start making records that they can respect, that's one thing. Now, I don't get my rocks off listening to the Duran Run. No, I don't. Honestly, I don't. I know it. I loved it. I lived with it so long that it's one cell in my body now. But do I respect it? Yeah, I do.
I mean, you were a great source of inspiration to Brian Wilson.
So I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, to the point that he began by idolizing you, and then ended up that you were his source of paranoia.
But you don't want me to pay his medical bills, do you?
I mean, like things like Pet Sounds and the album and Good Vibrations and Heroes and Villains, I mean, they're straight out of your textbook, aren't they?
So I've heard.
You've heard the records.
I said so,
Yeah.
I've heard.
Did you find them very flattering? I mean, they weren't direct cops for what you were doing, like some people did, but I mean, it was using what you'd done as a source of inspiration.
Good. That's what I was put on earth for.
Of all the things that people have made, say,
Listen.
Yeah?
If I help anyone, if I encourage anyone, if anybody emulates me, that's okay with me. so long as they admit to it. Most of them don't. Brian is a very honest cat. He says, Be My Baby is the greatest record ever made. It may not be the greatest record ever made, but so far as Brian Wilson is concerned, it's the greatest record ever made. Well, rather he say it and mean it than Richard Perry just go in and make a record that's an imitation and not say, I owe it all to Phil Spector.
Of all the imitations, which ones do you like? I won't ask you which ones you don't like, otherwise we'll be here all night.
You know, imitation, you see, you started out with a funny word, imitation.
Or inspiration.
Inspiration. Hollandos in Holland did pretty well. Good Vibrations, Brian Wilson. Great inspiration there.
It's a record that still stands up today as well.
Yep. I'll be the first to acknowledge it. You know, I may be the greatest record maker of all time, but I'm not the only record maker of all time. There are others. I love records, you know. I love music, you know. I don't listen and enjoy as much as I used to. But there's nobody going to stop me. I'm like Muhammad Ali, man. I get better as I grow older.
Either in the past, present, do you ever get frustrated as an artist, or what is your source of frustration?
Not being understood. You want to hear it again? Not being understood. They don't understand what I'm trying to do. They don't understand my form of communication. And though I am very commercial, and though I can make hits just like I can put a pair of socks on my feet and tie my shoes or whatever and put my pants on and a shirt, the lack of understanding, the lack of communication, and the deepest one is the lack of appreciation.
Appreciation from whom? The industry? Kids appreciated you, they bought your records.
You're talking past tense. You're sitting in a mansion right now for your tape recorder. A house that's got 16 bathrooms. Let's not talk about the past. Let's just talk about forever and the past. The future, the present, the past. The lack of understanding. They don't understand me. They don't communicate with me. They don't know me or try to know me. Now you'll say, well, you live a pretty guarded life, Philip.
You took the words out of my mouth.
Pardon me?
You took the words out of my mouth.
I should be more understood. And perhaps a gentleman like you will help me be more understood. And it doesn't matter if I carry guns or bodyguards or live in a mansion. When I go into a studio, I make art. And I change rock and roll into a form of art. And I made the word producer credible. And I make rock and roll music, quote unquote, credible. I gave it credence, and I don't mean clear water. I did it. That they don't understand that is painful. That you understand it, that Tony Bramwell understands it, is gratifying. But that those who don't understand it, not only is it painful, but I learned something. They don't know what they're missing, man.
So the reason why you quit in 66, 67?
Is not for what you think, and for not what they say.
Do you want to tell me?
You got $25 million in the bank, man. And you realize they just don't understand you, which I just said. They don't understand. I'm the best and I'm the greatest. There's a difference now between being an egomaniac and being egotistical. I am not egotistical. I am an egomaniac. Well, my ego is so high you can't beat me down.
Can I say something? I found, this is just as a person who was buying your records, that after River Deep Mountain High failed in this country, though it didn't in England, that your records, I felt that you were almost going like this, and that the
Well, this won't come up on tape, so shut the tape recorder off.
A great quote about you.
The great quote about me. Phil Spector? You're yesterday's newspaper. Want to know the reply from Phil Spector?
I'm listening.
Anytime I'm ready, I'm tomorrow's headlines. Live with that a while. I make art. And you can't judge art. The courts have proved that. Because what you might consider crap, shit, bad, I might consider good. And what I consider bad, you might consider good.
Well, it's the same with my job as a writer. Just
Well,
because
therefore you can't judge art. And I make art. And I have reformed rock and roll to the dignity of art. Because it's not rock and roll. It's music. And it's the people's music.
I asked you a question before about when people started saying Phil Spector genius.
Amen.
Legend in his own time, Teen Tycoon. whatever else they wanted to call you. How did you react to it? I mean, obviously you must have been flattered, but still, it's still a hard thing to live with.
Well,
knowing at the same time that there are people that are putting you down and don't understand.
I remember once, at a very young age, in my 20s, in a limousine, figure I was what, 22, 23? And I know you're taping this, so I know it. We used to stop at red lights, and I'd see little old ladies, and little old men at bus stops with umbrellas, because it was raining outside. Bumbershoot, they call them in England, right? And I felt bad. And I said to myself one day, Philip, most men don't make $1 million, if they ever do, until they're 40 or 50. You're in a Cadillac now, limousine drive, or limousine driven, whatever, chauffeur driven, in your 20s. That's that much longer that I had to keep it up. Because most men don't really make those millions, if they ever do, until they're 40 or 50. Here I was in the 20s and I made it.
Did you find it hard to rationalise that? I mean, really difficult?
Extremely difficult.
I mean, did you feel, I mean, though you're in your early 20s, do you feel that you were almost old before your time? I mean, giving somebody a lot of money, or earning a lot of money when you're very young, can sort of give you a very distorted look on life.
Yeah, but I knew one thing. I earned and deserved every goddamn penny I made.
But obviously, money wasn't it wasn't the motivation behind. I mean,
we were billing what you would say £50,000 a day. That's a lot of money. And I know pounds into dollars. We were billing that. It's a hell of a thing to live up to, man, when you're 35, and that's what I'm going to be on Christmas Day.
But you know, the thing is, it's proven it hasn't done it with you.
And I've got the mansion, and I've got it all.
But I mean, it hasn't happened to you, but with a lot of people, as soon as they get money, the hunger to create, the desire to get ahead goes. There's so many rock artists.
You saw me retire.
This happened to Presley.
You saw me retire, man.
Yeah.
Now, you saw me. I just stopped.
Okay, why? What made you turn around and put up the notice gone fishing?
There was probably no place else for me to go. I took it out in the trades. Benedict Arnold lives. What I really meant was Benedict Arnold lives in the mind of Phil Spector.
They must have fucking hated you when you took that advert out.
That's one thing you hit it on. And I'm going to ask you to shut the tape recorder off. No,
okay.
Not yet. So you've asked me about being disliked. What you haven't asked me about, and what I want you to think about before you shut the tape recorder, is how can somebody who gave his whole life to music, who made such fucking great records, and you know I did. You've admitted I did.
I'll tell you again as well.
How could they have hated me? And how can they still hate me?
But your records are always full of love.
And nobody made such good record.
That's what I don't know. That's what I told you. They don't understand me. How could they hate me?
During the summer in Norway.
Man, the fucker, I make River Deep Mountain. How could, do run, whatever you want to call it. I played you tapes last night, you know gonna be number one. How could they hate somebody whose records are filled with so much love, and not only love, so much honesty, and so much pure fucking talent? You lost that love and feeling. Oh. I mean, Marty always says, go in the goddamn studio and record. You are natural, Phil. You can do anything you want to do. You lost that love feeling.